In 1987, Gary Stollman, aged 33 at the time, pointed what turned out to be a toy gun at KNBC reporter David Horowitz and forced him to read a nonsensical statement during a television newscast, live on air. Gary suffered from schizophrenia and was convinced that his father, who worked for the channel, had been kidnapped by aliens and replaced with an exact replica. Only Gary could tell the difference. Gary hung out with some of the UFO elite at the time. They were pushing stories that he believed, hook, line, and sinker. There is a photograph somewhere that proves that Gary had dinner with these UFO fraudsters, and they played a sick person for their own personal gain. This is something that turns the stomach of any right-thinking person. Gary was a bright kid who suffered a terrible illness. It's an open secret that the mafia ran all the concrete in pretty much every city in America, and they had Las Vegas for the gambling. But the Hells Angels ran the drugs, guns, and brothels. A guy named Bob Lazar had a connection to one of the chapter leaders of the Angels. His first wife was the cousin of a very respected chapter head. Bob had just done a runner from his 24-hour photo shop and moved town in the middle of the night. He had already taken everyone he knew for whatever he could get, including his own parents. Now he was looking for something new. The Angels didn't like the guy, but they gave his wife charge of one of the brothels, kin is kin. After all, well, it wasn't that they didn't like him, more like they didn't trust him. There was something about him that the Hells Angels couldn't quite put their finger on. The brothel was very lucrative, but Bob was looking for something else, something he could make his own. Then one day, his friend John Lear handed him a document that had been written on a typewriter and photocopied. John gave Bob a copy. The document in question was the Krill report. Bob was really interested in some of the stuff, especially the addendum on gravitational propulsion. Then, he had an idea. Operation Trojan Horse is a book published in 1970 by John Keel. Keel had read Carl Jung's book on flying saucers and thought it would be a good idea to steal all of his ideas and put them in a new book, one with his name on it. Then he could sell the book to all the self-styled UFO investigators and make himself a fortune. The UFO grift was kind of like the alternative archaeology grift of today, but instead of Atlantis, it was aliens. George Hunt Williamson was one of the first individuals to propose the idea that Atlanteans could have been aliens. He was a prominent figure in the UFO and ancient aliens research community during the mid-20th century. In his book, Other Tongues, Other Flesh, published in 1953, Williamson put forth the theory that beings from other planets, possibly extraterrestrial in nature, influenced the ancient civilization of Atlantis. This concept of Atlanteans being of extraterrestrial origin became a significant theme in ufology and alternative history. The idea would be rehashed by John Grace, the author of the Krill Report. He would later rewrite the Krill Report into a work called Matrix 3. It is the root of the last 40 years of UFO lore, including the fake story spun by Robert Lazar. Ignatius Donnelly published Atlantis, the Antediluvian World in 1882. This influential work proposed the idea of a lost advanced civilization in the Atlantic Ocean, popularizing the modern concept of Atlantis as retold by Graham Hancock. Hancock has made a fortune retelling this work as though it was his own. Lewis Spence, a Scottish journalist and folklorist, wrote The Problem of Atlantis in 1924, where he explored the legend of Atlantis and its potential historical basis.